and welcome to ReelTime Rants. So ReelTime Rants are basically Josh lets me get in front of the camera for 5 or 6 minutes to talk about / rant / say bad words about a movie that it is either critically acclaimed or really popular with audiences or that has just generally ticked me the hell off in the week. Today we're going to be doing 50 Shades of Grey, which for those of you who somehow missed it, is basically the idea of a shy virgin meets a billionaire who's into BDSM, and he wants to make her his sub. It's the basic plot line, as best there was one. So, my biggest issue with this movie, it was just so bad on so many levels. I watched it, and I got done, and I felt physically ill. Like, I don't think I'm going to be able to have sex for a couple weeks now, because when I close my mind, I see their bodies, and let's just say I didn't really have that much interest in seeing them naked, like when their clothes were on, and then they took them off, and it was actually worse than I anticipated. It was bad. It was really bad. But the biggest issue I have with this movie is the BDSM part. Like, and don't get me wrong, I'm not a prude. Like, I love romance novels, I read them all the time. I have no problem with that community. They're great people. This movie was not accurate to what happens in that community. I remember one of my friends, after reading the book, she's like, oh, I want to get into BDSM, and she was talking all about it and everything, and I'm like, honey, you realize that book is nowhere near what actually happens. First of all, in the book / and of course the movie, the way he treats her, it's all manipulation and demanding, and it's just kind of gross, to be honest. Like, there's no respect there. It's just icky. It's so icky. And that I had a big problem with. I think it gives an unrealistic view of what the BDSM community is like. You know, people who are into BDSM, there's mutual respect, and there's really, it's not just some powerful guy comes up and gives you a contract and says, this is what we're going to do. You know, that's not how it works. First of all, there's a lot of different facets to it, you know, and this movie completely failed to hit any of them correctly. I felt like the author had no clue what actually goes on, you know, in this kind of stuff, and just had an idealized version of it that was really, really disgusting. Another issue I had was the way women, well, particularly our female character, represented women who are subs in the community. Like, she wasn't just submissive, she was just a wimp. Like, a quiet little wimp who the entire movie never did anything interesting at all. It was, I don't know. I couldn't like her, ever. I didn't like the way they portrayed Christian Grey. I felt like he, as a character, he was more abusive than domineering. Like, I know a lot of doms who do kind of flirt with that line, but at the end of the day, they still have basic respect, and they don't go hunting individuals to be their subs. They let the subs come to them. The fact that he actively pursued her and he tried so hard to push her into this thing that she really wasn't that comfortable with, I don't know, the whole thing about it was just icky. It was just gross, so gross. And again, the sex scenes, they were bad. They were just really, really bad. There was nothing there. Like, I watched them, and I honestly, I was watching it on my computer, and I'm like, I'm gonna skip through this, and this, and this, because they weren't worth watching. They weren't compelling, they weren't sexy, they were just kind of like, They were so slow. Like, it's literally the longest I've ever seen 2 people take to have sex, and that's not a good thing. Like, I don't know. It was awful. In short, I think this movie is terrible. It gives the wrong idea of a BDSM community. It gives the wrong idea of what it is to be a submissive woman, or a woman, period. And it was poorly directed. The dialogue in it was so wooden and just choppy, and neither of the characters really fully fledged. She was kind of this stereotypical other girl. You know, she's quiet and she's shy and she's romantic, but you never ever get a real idea of who she is. She just kind of seems to be filling this basic type. And he's the same way, you know. He's this classic, he had kind of a rough childhood, but, you know, and there was this older woman that took advantage of him, and he doesn't see what's wrong with that, and blah, blah, blah. Like, there's just, and again, that was super weird. But there was just so much wrong with this movie. I honestly, I don't know. I know the people I know who loved it were like my future mother-in-law, who, you know, I love her, but I think part of the reason she liked it is just because it was basically glorified porn that it was acceptable to watch, which is fine, except it was bad. It was bad porn. I've seen amateur shit that was way better than this, you know? Like, and I think that's kind of the audience they were trying to grab, was the 30 to 40 set that, you know, haven't really watched good porn, so they don't know what it is. And so they thought this shit was good. It wasn't. It was awful. It was terrible. And I had to cuddle my fiance, and I felt like crying when it was over. So that's been my real-time rant. Thank you for joining me, and have a great day. And as always, thank you for keeping it real with ReelTime.